We're going to move on now and talk about immigration. A decade ago or so, this was a theme at the very top of the list of priorities and concerns in Europe. The fact that it is lower down the list today may be because Europe has been so successful in addressing it, or it may be because other concerns have risen in importance in that period. I guess we're going to find that out now with our panel. So let me invite them up onto the stage to join us. We have Thanos Plevris, who is the Minister of Migration and Asylum here in Greece. Please come and join me. It's good to see you again. We have Dmytro Lubinets, who's the Ukrainian Parliament Commissioner for Human Rights. We have John Doutsenberg, former White House official, founder of the JPD Global Advisors. Hi. And we have Stefan Kraus, Chief Operating Officer at Henley and Partners. Hi. Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Please, if you sit in the order in which I announced you, then that will make everything simpler. Okay, gentlemen, we have half an hour. There are four of you. I've got lots of questions, so I'm going to have to squeeze you so that you give me some time. If there is time, I'd like to offer an opportunity to the audience to put a question or two, so if the sound guys can have a roving mic ready, that would be helpful. This is a huge topic, so I think a good way in is, I framed it, this was a big priority for Europe 10 years ago or so. It appears to be lower down the list now. Is that because the approach of Europe has worked, or is it because other things have simply become more urgent?
So thank you very much for the invitation. You allow me to speak in Greek.
Of course.
You don't have any problem.
No.
Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ το Economist για την πρόσκληση στο συγκεκριμένο συνέδριο και το πολύ ενδιαφέρον πάνελ το οποίο έχουμε σήμερα. Η αλήθεια είναι ότι η μετανάστευση αποτελεί ένα βασικό κεντρικό θέμα στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση. Έβλεπα τώρα τα στοιχεία της Frontex, τα οποία δημοσιεύτηκαν πριν από λίγο και στο πρώτο εξάμηνο η Ευρώπη έχει 50.000 παράνομες αφίξεις έναντι 85.000 του προηγούμενου εξαμήνου, του 2025, του πρώτου εξαμήνου του 2025. Τι δείχνει αυτό? Αυτό δείχνει ότι πλέον η σκληρή μεταναστευτική πολιτική έχει αρχίσει να αποδίδει. Η συνεργασία που έχουμε με την Τουρκία στην Ελλάδα έχει μειώσει κατά πολύ τις ροές από την πλευρά του Αιγαίου. Έχουμε 65% μείωση στις ροές και συνολικά περίπου 30% μείωση στις θαλάσσιες ροές. Αυτό παρατηρείται σε όλη την Ευρώπη, γιατί η Ευρώπη έχει αλλάξει μια πολιτική απέναντι στη μετανάστευση. Θέλουμε να έχουμε νόμιμες οδούς μετανάστευσης. Η Ευρώπη χρειάζεται μεταναστευτικό δυναμικό. Παρουσιάζεται έλλειψη σε πολλούς τομείς που χρειαζόμαστε μετανάστες να τους καλύψουν, αλλά σε καμία περίπτωση δεν θέλουμε τα κυκλώματα και οι λαθροδιακινητές να κατευθύνουν τις μεταναστευτικές ροές στην Ευρώπη. Συνεπώς, είναι πολύ σημαντικό ότι πλέον με το Σύμφωνο Μετανάστευσης και Ασύλου έχουμε μια συγκροτημένη ευρωπαϊκή πολιτική που στοχεύει στη μείωση των παράνομων ροών, στην αύξηση των επιστροφών. Δεν είναι ταμπού να μιλάμε για επιστροφές. Η λογική του ασύλου είναι ότι κάποιος που δεν δικαιούται άσυλο θα πρέπει να επιστρέφει στη χώρα καταγωγής του. Όταν λοιπόν εφαρμοστεί και ο κανονισμός επιστροφών, που είναι πολύ σημαντικός και προβλέπει και τη δημιουργία return hubs σε χώρες εκτός της Ευρώπης, πιστεύουμε ότι και οι επιστροφές θα αυξηθούν. Στην Ελλάδα ήδη το πρώτο εξάμηνο του 2025 έχουμε 40% αύξηση στις αναγκαστικές επιστροφές και 20% αύξηση στις οικειοθελείς επιστροφές. Συνεπώς, πολύ σημαντική είναι η αντιμετώπιση της παράνομης μετανάστευσης, πρέπει όμως να ανοίξουμε και την νόμιμη μετανάστευση. Και επειδή και όλο εδώ το συνέδριο του Economist συνδυάζεται με τις δυνατότητες και τις προοπτικές που υπάρχουν, θα πρέπει κάποια στιγμή να μιλήσουμε με ειλικρίνεια στην Ευρώπη και κατά πόσο έχει την ικανότητα η Ευρώπη να αφομοιώνει και να απορροφά άλλους πληθυσμούς. Τις προηγούμενες δεκαετίες επικράτησε ένα δόγμα που έλεγε ότι η μείωση του πληθυσμού στην Ευρώπη θα καλυφθεί με τις μεταναστευτικές ροές. Αποδείχτηκε αυτό κυρίως σε μεγάλες ευρωπαϊκές χώρες ότι δεν υπήρχε δυνατότητα αφομοίωσης τόσων μεγάλων πληθυσμιακών ροών και ειδικά από χώρες που δεν μοιράζονται τις ίδιες αρχές και αξίες από την Ευρώπη. Και είδαμε λοιπόν μια Ευρώπη τελείως διαφορετική, στην οποία άρχισαν να αντιδρούν οι ίδιοι οι πολίτες. Είναι λοιπόν πολύ σημαντικό και η επιλογή των μεταναστευτικών ροών, στο μέτρο του εφικτού, να γίνεται από χώρες ή από πληθυσμούς που θέλουν να έρθουν στην Ευρώπη για να γίνουν μέρος της Ευρώπης. Όχι που θέλουν να έρθουν στην Ευρώπη για να μεταφέρουν τον τρόπο ζωής τους και τα αξιακά τους κριτήρια. Απόδειξη αυτού ήταν η εσωτερική ευρωπαϊκή μετανάστευση όταν κατέρευσε το σοσιαλιστικό μπλοκ, όταν κατέρευσε ο κομμουνισμός. Εκεί ήταν άνθρωποι που είχαν τις ίδιες αρχές και αξίες τις ευρωπαϊκές. Και είδαμε ότι αυτή η μεταναστευτική ροή ουσιαστικά έδωσε μια μεγάλη όθηση σε όλη την Ευρώπη. Δεν μπορούμε να πούμε το ίδιο με πολλές μεταναστευτικές ροές. Μ' αρέσει ότι στη συζήτηση υπάρχει και ένα κομμάτι που έχει να κάνει με τις αρχές και αξίες. Δεν αρκεί η μεταφορά πληθυσμών για εργασία. Θα πρέπει αυτοί οι πληθυσμοί να μπορούν να γίνουν μέρος της Ευρώπης. Άρα, για να ολοκληρώσω και εντός του χρόνου, είναι πολύ σημαντικό ότι πλέον η Ευρώπη έχει βάλει κανόνες στη μετανάστευση. Ενδυνάμωση της νόμιμης μετανάστευσης. Χθες είχα την τύχη να είμαι στην Αίγυπτο και συζητούσαμε εκτός από την παράνομη την ανάγκη να έχουμε μεταναστευτικό δυναμικό που χρειάζεται η χώρα, άρα συνολικά ενδυνάμωση όλων αυτών των δυνατοτήτων, ειδικά και σε εξειδικευμένους τομείς που έχουμε ακόμα μεγαλύτερη ανάγκη στην Ευρώπη, αλλά από την άλλη πλευρά σαφείς κανόνες, ώστε η Ευρώπη να μην γίνει μαγνήτης έλξης παρανόμων ροών και όσοι έρχονται εδώ πέρα να ξέρουν ότι πρέπει να αποδεχτούν και να ενταχθούν στον ευρωπαϊκό τρόπο ζωής.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on. There's a lot there to unpack, so we'll come back to that later on. But in the meantime, let's move on to Dmitry Lubinets, Ukrainian Parliament Commissioner for Human Rights. It was striking here in Europe the way in which, at the moment of the invasion of your country by Russia, the borders of Europe were opened up, and millions of Ukrainian migrants came into Europe and were welcomed with open arms, which sort of gives the lie a little bit to the idea that the capacity of Europe to absorb migrants is limited, because that was a huge inflow of people and was coped with very well, I thought. How has that evolved now? So are you getting the support that you need? Are those Ukrainians still getting the support they need in Europe outside of the country? How are flows working at the moment? And what lessons do you think the Ukrainian experience with European migration has for Europe as a whole?
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for organizing this event and inviting me. I will start. I have a small presentation so you can see the number. I will start from the statistic. Next slide, please. You can see that from the beginning of Russian invasion to Ukraine, from 2014, as of today, we have 8.6 million Ukrainians left our territory. 6.2 million of them are in European Union member states. Around them, 5.9 million completely stay in European Union. 4.6 million in Ukraine with the official status of IDPs. 4.6, almost 4 million Ukrainian citizens are under temporary protection across the Europe. The next one. Another topic. From 3.5 till 5 million Ukrainians live on temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. So can you imagine, before 2014, Ukraine had 45 million people. Now we have around 25. So from the end of Second World War, this is the biggest transferring population, civil population of the Europe. And we have a lot of problems. With all our appreciation, now the next slide, please. Now we see that European Union countries and others help Ukrainian people. But, dear colleagues, helping Ukraine today is not charity. Is one of the largest economic resources currently available to Europe. For example, the next slide. I will give you example of Poland. You know, now we have difficult relations between Ukraine and Poland, but anyway, you can see that only by economic activities of Ukrainian people, Ukraine developed Poland for the 2.6% GDP in 2024 alone. And when you compare the finance assistance from Poland to Ukrainian people and to Ukraine, you will see that this is only around 7% of economic development that received Poland from Ukrainian people. The next one, categories. When we are talking about continuation of temporary protection for the Ukrainian people, please, dear colleagues, not forget that war doesn't end. And we should to realize that we should to continue this program at least for the more vulnerable groups of Ukrainian people. Women, children, elderly people, people with disabilities, etc. The next one, war. Yesterday and today I heard a lot of speeches with all my appreciation, but please realize our situation. Daily, our country under attack by Russian Federation. Only for the last months, every day Russians killed 170 civilian people, even in Kiev. Can you imagine how it is live on the constant war from the Russia? And when I heard that we should to continue to discuss, to have this dialogue with Russian Federation according to international humanitarian law, yes, we are ready. But if Russians don't want to do it, what we can do? I think that we should to realize that now international humanitarian law works only to the countries who respect IHL. And we should to additionally create special mechanism for reaction for the countries who violated IHL daily. Russia violated all conventions, resolutions, Charter of UN, resolutions of peace, etc., etc. So this is our reality. And my advice to our international partners, we need to do everything to push to Russia, and only after this, by military way, Russia will start peace negotiations, not before. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks. We'll come back to that, but let's move along to John Doutzenberg, former White House official and founder of JPD Global Advisors. The current administration has a very different approach to immigration to Europe's approach, and indeed there have been some very pointed remarks made by members of the administration about what Europe should be doing and the cost to Europe if it doesn't do that. What's your view?
I think, speaking more broadly, it's about how things are framed. And so much of the conversation in the US now, in Europe now for years, has been more of the fortress Europe, fortress US. We look about figures of keeping people out, talking about the other, stoking fear, stoking hatred, uncertainty about people, but we haven't dedicated that same amount of political will to addressing the root causes. This is what US is doing now too. We say, well, too many people coming from South America, we need to find ways to stop them, so we'll cut some deal with the very governments who are the people driving them out. Europe has made the same mistake. You want to cut a deal with Tunisia to stop people from getting onto boats from North Africa, but it's the Tunisian government, which in so many ways, due to their corruptions and human rights abuses and torture, is what's driving people out. So what I think about is how can we focus more, the US, Europe, on really putting political will behind root causes, so that instead of managing flows of people, we're making real efforts to avoid having them move in the first place. You think about education. Education is the key to mobility. Education is the key to counter extremism, radicalization. Education is the key to building capacities of each of these countries. Really invest in partnerships on education. What can we do around truly adhering to human rights from the European Union, from the US, who talks about human rights a little less now than they have in the past, is instead of offering deals to say keep people out, come from a position of strength, of the European Union saying we're willing to cooperate with the X government, but we need you to adhere to practices based on human rights, on anti-corruption, and use a carrot and stick approach with a lot of countries. And then finally, you talk about foreign assistance. The US has really pulled back on this, unfortunately, and Europe is the global leader on foreign assistance. But is there a different way to approach it? A way that focuses more on localization, local organizations, local individuals to better deliver that assistance than going through large multilateral organizations, large NGOs, which are billion-dollar corporations at this point, because we don't do enough of listening. We're not listening to the people that we're trying to help. And so if we were to adapt European Union's foreign assistance more, let's say, to promote capacity building of local organizations, to better work with diasporas around the world, to better serve people in need, that makes you more efficient and hopefully, again, prevents these flows so that once again, we're approaching it more from the perspective of how can we address root causes, provide human dignity to people, and less from the perspective of we need to keep all these other people who aren't aligned with our culture and values out.
Excellent. I think we can hear, John, why you're a former member of the White House.
Retired.
Retired, indeed. A timely choice in your career. Let's move along to Stefan Kraus, Chief Operating Officer with Henley & Partners. I mean, you're in the business of immigration, emigration, movement of people, but at a very different end of the spectrum from, I guess, the issues that we're raising mostly here. So I'll just let you free rein and you can tell us what you want to tell us, but I am interested to know whether you see a connection along that spectrum, something that private sector organizations like yours can contribute in terms of building pathways for all kinds of migrants to go from wherever they are to wherever they want to be.
Thanks a lot, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Minister cleverly spoke about the demanded migration to Greece and to Europe, and from my perspective and experience at Henley & Partners, I would like to offer this complementary perspective. I mean, alongside the migration flows that Europe must manage, that we just discussed, with compassion and resolve, there is this other form of migration that the region should actually actively encourage. The migration of wealthy and talented individuals through so-called residence programs, which are orderly, lawful, and rigorously vetted and deliver substantial economic benefits to the countries that welcome it. Across Europe, residence by investment programs in countries such as Greece, Italy, Latvia, Malta, and Portugal have attracted billions of euros of foreign direct investment, supporting public infrastructure, employment, and innovation. And unlike traditional financing, this model delivers equity injection into the state, enhancing fiscal autonomy, funding national priorities, rather than passing obligations on to future generations. Greece, where we are, is a prime case study since its launch in 2013. So most of the European residence programs were introduced after the global financial crisis. Greece introduced its program in 2013. The Greece Golden Visa program has attracted sustained international interest, with property investment alone raising 4.5 billion euros in 2023 and 2024 in these 2 years. Annual applications rose from 359 359 in 2014 to more than 9,000 in 2024, which is a clear indication of investor confidence in Greece's future. The benefits of these programs extend well beyond real estate. Golden Visa Capital has been instrumental in the regeneration of inner-city Athens, where buildings left vacant by the economic crisis have been repurposed into residential apartments. The program has generated spillover effects across tourism, retail, banking, education, and professional services, while financial instruments such as government bonds and mutual funds are gaining momentum, reflecting investor confidence in Greece's broader economic outlook. To give a perspective on the profile of the Golden Visa program applicants, they are typically entrepreneurs, business founders, investors, and accomplished professionals who bring valuable expertise and international connections to their adopted communities. And this precisely is the caliber of globally connected, innovative talent that Europe should be seeking to attract. At a time of demographic decline and intensifying global competition for human talent, Europe needs more of this kind of migration, not less, I guess we all agree. It's worth reflecting on why globally mobile, wealthy families choose Europe. Our clients come from every region in the world and increasingly from the United States, which is now Henley & Partners' largest single source market for residence and citizenship planning globally. Nearly half of all applications from the US nationals are directed towards European programs, and Americans are drawn by what this continent represents: the rule of law, political stability, personal freedom, world-class healthcare and education, and an exceptional quality of life. And I think at the moment when Europe questions its own competitiveness, the fact that so many of the world's most successful families are choosing Europe for its values as much as for its opportunities is in fact a vote of confidence. In closing, addressing the root causes of irregular migration and attracting global talent and investment are not competing agendas. They are complementary pillars of a confident European investment and migration policy. And Greece particularly has shown what can be achieved when openness is matched with rigorous standards in terms of due diligence standards, KYC checks on the applicants, which are much more stringent than any other migration route into Europe. At a time of intensifying global competition for capital, entrepreneurs, and skilled individuals, Europe should view residence by investment programs as an opportunity to be embraced. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, and thanks for drawing that connection between the talent immigration through legal channels and the pressing issues that we've been discussing. We've got 10 minutes or so. I do have a bunch of questions, but I did say that I would offer you the opportunity to ask if there are any questions in the audience. I don't see, I think you guys have done such an amazing job that nobody has any questions. Sadly, I do. So let's come back. I want to come back to you, Minister. I don't want to mischaracterize what you said, but there was an implication in your distinction between immigrants who share our values and those who don't. There's an implication that there are people in need who are our kind of people and people in need who aren't our kind of people, and that the fact that they're in need isn't the priority. Whether they're like us or not like us is the priority. Am I mischaracterizing your words?
Όχι, αυτό πάνω κάτω είπα, δεν λέτε κάτι διαφορετικό από αυτό το οποίο είπα. Αν μου επιτρέπετε πολύ γρήγορα, επειδή ήταν πολύ ενδιαφέρουσα η συζήτηση. Πράγματι στην Ουκρανία, εμείς έχουμε επεκτείνει για έναν ακόμα χρόνο την προσωρινή προστασία και έχει ανοίξει μια συζήτηση στην Ευρώπη, θα την ξέρετε και θα ήθελα και την άποψή σας, ότι αυτό δεν πρέπει να περιλαμβάνει τους Ουκρανούς που είναι νέοι σε στρατεύσιμη ηλικία και έχουν φύγει προκειμένου να μην υπηρετήσουν τον Ουκρανικό στρατό. Και εδώ έχει μια λογική, διότι από τη μια πλευρά δεν μπορεί να στηρίζεις μια χώρα στον πόλεμο και να δίνεις άσυλο ή προστασία σε ανθρώπους που τους καλεί η πατρίδα τους να πολεμήσουν και δεν πηγαίνουν να πολεμήσουν. Αυτό είναι μια συζήτηση που είχε ανοίξει στην Ευρώπη. Άκουσα με πολύ ενδιαφέρον τις δύο τοποθετήσεις και θα πω αυτό το οποίο είπα. Το να προσπαθήσεις να στηρίξεις τις χώρες και να βρεις τις αιτίες της μετανάστευσης δεν είναι αντίθετο με το να προσπαθείς να έχεις και μια σκληρή μεταναστευτική πολιτική. Το 2015 μέχρι το 2019 από την Ελλάδα καταγράφηκαν πάνω από 1.200.000 αφίξεις. Όταν ανέλαβε Πρωθυπουργός ο Κυριάκος Μητσοτάκης, που κόντρα τότε στην Ευρώπη εξέφρασε μια σκληρή και δίκαια μεταναστευτική πολιτική, στα 7 αυτά χρόνια οι ροές είναι 183.000. Με τους ίδιους πολέμους, με τις ίδιες συνθήκες. Άρα μπορείς από τη μία πλευρά να κάνεις πολιτικές στήριξης των χωρών, από την άλλη όμως πλευρά θα πρέπει και να φυλάς τα σύνορά σου και να κάνεις επιστροφές σε αυτούς που δεν δικαιούνται άσυλο. Τι κάνουμε εμείς τώρα στην Ελλάδα? Και αυτό θα ήθελα να το πω για να το δούμε πώς προσπαθούμε να έχουμε αυτή την ισορροπία. Όταν κάποιος μπαίνει στην Ελλάδα παράνομα, τον διαχωρίζουμε με βάση το προφίλ. Εάν έχει προσφυγικό προφίλ, αντί να τον βάζουμε μέσα σε ένα διαμέρισμα και να του δίνουμε κάποια επιδόματα ή σε ένα κάμπ, καταγράφουμε τις δυνατότητες του, τα skills του και τον μεταφέρουμε εκεί που έχουμε τις αντίστοιχες εργασιακές ανάγκες. Του δίνουμε τη δυνατότητα να μάθει ελληνικά και να βρει εργασία, λέγοντάς του ότι εμείς σου δίνουμε αυτή τη δυνατότητα. Κάνουμε αυτό το παράδειγμα στο Κουτσόχερο στη Λάρισα. Η Λάρισα φημίζεται ότι έχει πολλές αγροτικές εργασίες. Όσοι λοιπόν δηλώνουν ότι είναι αγρότες και είναι πιθανό να πάρουν άσυλο, από το να τους βάλουμε σε ένα διαμέρισμα στην Αθήνα, το οποίο εγώ δεν καταλάβαινα γιατί αυτό γινόταν, τους μεταφέρουμε εκεί. Έχουμε μεταφέρει 4.000 πρόσφυγες από το Σουδάν. Σήμερα που μιλάμε, σε 8 μήνες πιλωτικής εφαρμογής του προγράμματος, οι 2.500 εργάζονται. Αυτό είναι πραγματική διαδικασία κάλυψης των εργατικών σου αναγκών και ένταξης. Από την άλλη πλευρά όμως, υπάρχουν και αυτοί που δεν θα πάρουν άσυλο. Αυτούς πλέον τους ενημερώνουμε από την πρώτη στιγμή ότι θα βρίσκονται σε κλειστές δομές. Και η μόνη δυνατότητά τους είναι να συνεργαστούν να επιστρέψουν. Και αυτό είναι μια δίκαιη πολιτική. Διότι η λογική του ασύλου είναι να προστατεύεις αυτόν που κινδυνεύει και να του δίνεις τη δυνατότητα να ενταχθεί. Δεν είναι λογική του ασύλου όποιος θέλει για οικονομικούς λόγους να έρθει. Άρα και βάσει του νέου συμφώνου αλλά και εθνικής μας πολιτικής έχουμε αυτή την ισορροπία. Σήμερα βρίσκονται γύρω στα 3.500 άτομα σε κράτηση και περιμένουν την επιστροφή τους γιατί δεν θα πάρουν άσυλο και υπάρχουν και 10.000 άτομα στις δομές μας οι οποίοι πιθανά θα πάρουν άσυλο και έχουν τη δυνατότητα, αν θέλουν, να μείνουν. Αυτό το οποίο είπατε, και θα κλείσω με αυτό για να μπορούν να τοποθετούν και οι συνομιλητές, δεν είναι ταμπού να το συζητάμε στην Ευρώπη. Ότι υπάρχουν αυτή τη στιγμή και πληθυσμοί που έρχονται και η πραγματικότητα είναι έρχονται από χώρες με φοβερό φονταμεταλισμό, που δεν σέβονται τη θέση της γυναίκας, που δεν θέλουν να μοιραστούν αξίες με την Ευρώπη. Θέλουν να μεταφέρουν τον τρόπο ζωής τους. Απλά να περνούν καλύτερα οικονομικά, αλλά να μεταφέρουν αυτό το οποίο ζούσαν ενδεχομένως στο Αφγανιστάν στην Ευρώπη. Εγώ δεν είμαι αισιόδοξος ότι όλοι αυτοί οι πληθυσμοί μπορούν να ενταχθούν. Και δεν είναι κακό σαν Ευρώπη να λέμε ότι αυτοί που δεν μπορούν να ενταχθούν στην Ευρώπη δεν πρέπει να βρίσκονται στην Ευρώπη. Γιατί αυτό που συμβαίνει σήμερα στη Γαλλία, στη Δανία, στη Σουηδία, η Σουηδία είχε την πιο ανοιχτή πολιτική. 30% στα 3 χρόνια έδινε ηθαγένεια σε ένα νόμο μετανάστη και σήμερα κάνει την πιο σκληρή πολιτική. Άρα, να βρούμε τις αιτίες της μετανάστευσης, αλλά μέχρι να λύσουμε αυτές τις αιτίες, δεν μπορούμε να θεωρούμε ότι και οι χώρες μας δεν έχουν σύνορα και δεν προστατεύονται.
Okay, thank you very much. Would you like to come back on the comments?
Yes, I just want a quick reaction with all our appreciation. When I mentioned about continuation of program of temporary protection for Ukrainian people, I mentioned more vulnerable groups. I didn't mention about the men, but it is normal for everyone to afraid to be killed by Russians. So give the arguments for the Ukrainian men to return back to Ukraine, not simply just you must. When I see that some European Union countries established a special program like small finance, 8,000 euros for returning back to Ukraine. Do you believe that person who lost everything on temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, everything, property, house, everything, can return back to Ukraine for this finance? No. First of all, give the argument to return back and to continue to fight for not only for the Ukraine, for the whole Europe. Do someone in this space believe that if war between Russia and Ukraine stop, Putin doesn't want to go further? Do someone believe in this? No. The question is, who will be next? So now Ukraine fights for the whole Europe, and all this time we asking our European partners, please help us because you help yourself. We are talking about NATO. I want to see the reaction when Putin will start some aggression against, for example, Baltic countries. Did we see?
Should we move on from that? Because it's a fascinating topic, but it's not really the topic of the panel.
Absolutely, the last message. So please be realistic. And now when we are talking about migration, we're talking about that Ukrainian people from one side continue to fight against Russians, from another side develop European economy, and all this time we pleasantly ask European Union, just please think about joining Ukraine to European Union and to give to us this chance to make Europe great, big, powerful together.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm glad you didn't say make Europe great again. That would have been good. John, I wanted to come back to you very briefly, if you would, because as you can see, we're nearly out of time. There is a balance between, as there is in all policy questions, there's a balance between defending the borders of Europe and addressing the root causes of why those borders are being assailed by waves of migration. Presumably, you've emphasized the responsibility and the role that we can play in addressing some of those root causes, but presumably you also acknowledge that Europe, America have the right to choose who comes across those borders and how those borders are policed. Would you like to comment very briefly on that?
Absolutely. There needs to be clear legal processes. There needs to be real vetting. There needs to be real pathways for integration and assimilation too, because otherwise it's unfair to expect for me to come to Greece. If no one helped me understanding language, understanding processes, the law, my chance of success would be much lower. So we need to have real pathways. But what I'm arguing too is that we're in a bit of an imbalance. Think of how much time and energy has been expended in the EU and in the US towards prevention, towards deals on migration. Think of how much time, think of how much money, but has there been a similar amount of effort put into addressing the root causes?
Okay.
That's part of the point I make.
Yeah. And is in which direction is that
Going in,
effort moving? Okay,
Yes.
Let's finish off then with Stefan. Stefan, comments on what you've heard, just very, very briefly, a minute or so.
I mean, generally what we see is that wealthy individuals, ultra-high net worth individuals, talent, they are more and more mobile. So this is a time where I think Europe has the prerequisites to welcome this talent, these investors and businessmen to the continent. They are looking for a plan B, that's what we see. A lot of individuals want to have a second residence, want to have a plan B, a safe haven, and that is what we offer to these individuals. Europe is an attractive continent, and I would think it's all about putting the right policies in place to welcome these individuals to Europe and give them a second home.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I'm very pleased with you guys for sticking to time and giving such interesting. I'm frankly disappointed with them because they didn't come up with any questions at all, which is a bit bit pathetic. No doubt later on, but in other sessions they will.
Later.
Okay, but I'm sure they'll be happy to join me in thanking you for your intervention. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.